Hello, today I'm building in Brindleton Bay. This is a 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom family home. It is located on a lot called Bedlington Boathouse. It's a 20 by 20 lot and it costs around 60,000 simoleons. You could see that there is some darker brick that I used as like the chimney and the tower. In the video itself, I was using a gray stone from base game, and I didn't change it until literally I was taking that video because I was looking at it and it felt incomplete. And so I added some ivy to it, and it still felt like it looked a little incomplete from the front. And I wasn't liking how it was looking now that like I had taken however many days away from the build and then coming back in to take pictures of it. I was like, I need to change this. And I was like, it's okay that it's not in the actual video. So in the speed build, you'll see the other version of it, which it's like okay, but I think it definitely looks a lot better with the change of the stone. I used the Castle Estates kit stone instead, and I think it just like looks a lot more like autumn and like earthy, and it kind of matches the vibe a little bit better for the build because the build itself has a lot of like red and dark colors, and I thought that the change in the stone was really needed for it. But this build, I didn't really have anything in mind when I started it. I really wasn't sure what I was going to build. I wasn't feeling very inspired because I've been playing other games and I didn't know if I would have a video this week, which I kind of talked about in last week's video. And I said that I'd have a build if I just sit down and I just try and build something tiny without like a lot of pressure on myself. And so I picked out this lot because I was like, oh, Brindleton Bay looks so beautiful in the fall. So let me just build here. It's a good size lot, 20 by 20. It's not too big, so it's not going to take me way too long. I also kept the clutter in the interior pretty minimal, so there's not like a lot going on inside, which I think is like perfectly fine for gameplay anyway. You don't want too much clutter. And like at one point, one of like the dressers that I actually did put clutter on, it all got deleted and went into the Sims inventory. So I put it all back. So that might be slightly different too than the video if you download it because I made sure I fixed it before I uploaded it. But that might be a problem when you place it down that the clutter in the bedroom dresser might for some reason be gone. I don't know if it's like a move objects on issue or what. I don't know. This game likes to have random issues every now and then, so it's hard to tell what will still be an issue and what is fixed. But yeah, I was going with this like red trim on the roof because I was inspired by the trees surrounding the lot, a lot of like maple trees, I guess, and it was reminding me of Animal Crossing New Horizons in November when all of the trees become red. And like I remember just like that's when my island had a lot of heavy fog. And I remember taking like these really pretty pictures of my Animal Crossing island with like all the fog in the morning and the maple leaves like blowing through the wind. And my favorite villager, Aurora, I followed her around. She's this little penguin. I took a million pictures of her with all the like red leaves and the fog, and so that's kind of what this build just reminds me of because it is just a lot of red. I don't know how far into fall my save currently is in because sometimes it's just like I will skip time a little bit to like figure out the lighting for builds, and I do that a lot, and so it just like it loses. I don't know. I was getting distracted because I kept seeing the G shade change, but you could see what the lot looks like without G shade, but that was like distracting me from whatever I was just talking about. I paused for a moment and listened back so I could better explain what I was talking about. But it's just that when I skip a lot of time, sometimes like a lot of days go by and the seasons will change. Like sometimes I'll forget, and if it's on like 7 day season cycle, it'll randomly be a whole different season. And then I'm like, oh, I need to go back, I guess, or like change the season in MCC, which I don't think I have installed currently when there was an update. for like the game. I don't know if I changed it. I didn't like do anything with the lighting yet in here. I really didn't edit out a lot of these, checking just to see what the color looks like without G shade, which I guess is a treat to see what it actually looks like in game instead of this. But normally I cut out a lot of that. I don't know what was going on. I think when I was editing, I was just like very spacey, and I was like just like watching Twitch streams or something. And so I didn't notice that, but it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, like now the wallpaper is coming together. That's the gray stone that I was talking about at the start that I change out because I like it with this, and I was just trying to like try something different. I was using cats and dogs walls too, so like the shingles and stuff I don't really use very often. I used to use that a lot before we got like a lot of new packs. That cats and dogs like exterior wall used to be my go-to in my builds, and so I was like just looking around because I didn't want to use the same exact exterior walls I've been using in all of my autumn builds. And that's why I was using the stone, and it looks okay, but when I was just trying to like take a picture, I felt like a lot was missing, and it almost seemed like there should be windows where that stone is to make it look a little bit better, but it wouldn't make sense because that's supposed to be almost like a chimney type area. So it's like I can't put any windows there, so I'm gonna have to like figure out how to like make it look better so that I like it. And I did that just by adding ivy, which isn't recorded, but you had seen it at the start, so it really doesn't matter. You could see this version of it instead. And I was just like roofing a little like porch area. Again, I was just trying different things because I wasn't feeling like super inspired, and I didn't know what I was going for with this build. I was just like trying to make the shape a little bit interesting, so it wasn't just a bunch of like rectangles, which it is, but I wanted to mix up the roofing a little bit and use like half gabled roofs around just to create a different like atmosphere in the front. And just like picking out landscaping now, I wanted to like continue on with the red landscaping, so I picked out a red tree and then another like green tree that has red flowers in it. And I didn't like wrap this fence around the entire lot, but I thought that it would look nice just to have like pretend that the fence is there because I thought it looked nice as like a picture for it. And I used a lot of the for rent, I think it is, like pillars and railings, and it's like the same thing as the roof trim too. I felt like it was like a very muted red. It's almost a pink, especially with G shade, but it like matches very well with the surrounding environment, or at least I thought it did. I also love just the lighting for the world. I don't even think I changed it at all. I think that when I just loaded into this lot, this is the lighting that it was. It's like kind of towards sunset, I believe, because when I was recording the intro, it went into nighttime, so I couldn't take the thumbnail picture yet. And so I'm gonna have to, if I don't have my mod installed, I'll have to install it so that I could go back and actually take the correct pictures. And I never used that cottage living like bay window, but it just like it fit in so perfectly. It like I don't know, I think it's just because of all the like reds that I was using that I was able to use that, because normally I use just like a base game bay window, or I use the stained glass one from Get Together. And like I never really branch out into the other cottage living windows. I mean, I always use that diamond one that I'm placing. That's like my go-to, and I use that throughout like most of the exterior for like every single room. The only issue is that it's like the color of the wood looks a little bit strange in the interior furnishing, which sometimes happens. And like I just cover it up with some blinds a little bit and I ignore it. But like that's like one thing that I felt was a problem when I was doing the interior of it. But then I was using other windows up in that tower that's also cottage living, which I usually skip over that one too, because I always go for the square cottage living window. I mean, like I always use cottage living windows. I think that's like my go-tos mixed with Get Together and like maybe some from For Rent. I also add a few more windows into like the roof peak area. So I use a curved like one tile window on each of the roof peaks that have that like half timber like accent at the top. Just because I also thought that that would add a little bit more detail when I was looking at the front of the build, and I thought it looked a little bit empty. So I added just like a couple windows and the ivy, and I changed the stone. But I think it was like really needed changes. I feel like it makes it just like it feel more like autumn. I got so distracted again because, like, I keep getting notifications on my computer for Facebook, which I just had to make a Facebook because I was reapplying to the EA Creator Network. And in order to like link your Instagram account, you need to have a Facebook. And so, like, this time when I applied, I like tried to link them and I made a new Facebook and it just like still didn't work. So I couldn't even like link my Instagram account, which is where I have like most of my followers and engagement. And so I just had to provide a link to my Instagram because like I don't know. Like I tried to like look it up and people have had the same issues, but like no one has any like solution to it. But now I'm getting like so many like Facebook notifications and I've like, been trying to turn them off and I just can't figure it out. And I haven't used Facebook in like over a decade. Like I haven't used Facebook since I was in high school. And now it's just like I keep getting these notifications and it's like really bothersome because they happen like so often and it's like people I don't even know. So like I don't know what it is about Facebook. But back to the build. I'm adding some more windows around. I also add like two little windows. Um how do I describe this? So there's this smaller window peak at the bottom, and then there's like the cats and dogs shingle on the second floor where there's like barely any space for windows. I managed to squeeze in two square windows on either side because when I was doing the interior, I thought that the bathroom seemed a little bit scary and so I added some windows there. And I really like how the landscape turned out. It's very simple. I didn't use like the terrain tools or anything, but I used like very like muted pink flowers mixed in with some other like like pale pink flowers with white mixed in that's a little bit taller is how I would like describe that. Um but yeah, I feel like it just like added the right like pop of color and like contrast a little bit. You can't really see some of the pink from this far away, but when you're a little bit closer, I feel like it really complements the like railing and the like roof like eaves and things like that. Um I was trying something different over here too with like using this I don't even know what that's called, but I was just trying to do an accent on the tower area and I had to use tool mod to like hide that to like connect them as if it's part of the roof. And it took me many attempts and like you could see that it looks like it's kind of floating from certain angles because it's not lowered completely because if you do that it like turns into like shadows and so I was like this is like good enough. You can't be too picky when you're building in The Sims, I think. And I was just adding some plants to the roof because that's usually what I do, and I feel like the build doesn't look complete without some plants on the roof. There is a weird thing where in the nursery towards the back, if you look up at the ceiling, you could see some of the grass through it, which I felt was weird because I guess like the grass that I used, it goes into the ground a little bit. It's not that big of a deal though. I don't think most people look up when they're playing The Sims and they're not really in tab mode anyway. Um, and like I was able to hide it in the pictures, so it really isn't that much of like an inconvenience. But I'm also just adding some more of this red ivy around, which I always use that get together ivy. I usually use it in the yellowish green swatch. But again, all the red just looked so good. And I use these window boxes that also have some red flowers in it. And like everything just felt like it was coming together nicely. And it felt really good to just like build something without any ideas, just going into a random lot and kind of letting the landscape around it inspire the build. I'm really happy with the shape of the build. I always, whenever I like watch back these like videos when I'm doing the voiceover, I'm always just like I don't know, I always like seeing the shape come together and I feel like this one is a little bit like more unique compared to some of my other builds. And I also have like naturally built a larger house. I mean, it's like 3 bedrooms, so it's not like a huge house, but my usual like house size when I'm just building just like to try to build something, it was always like 1 bedroom, maybe 2 bedrooms, and they were like very, very tiny. So I feel like I'm slowly getting like more natural at um thinking about the space of a build, and I think that's why it is the shape it is, because I have like different like pieces hanging off that was like intended to try and make the house a little bit bigger, and I feel like it ended up working out really nicely. And the roofing is pretty simple too, but it like because there's so many like accent pieces sticking out, it feels like there's a lot more going on. Okay, and in this part of the video, at one point, my game started being really, really weird, and I think you'll see it after. I would get this alert on my screen over and over again. And it made me so nervous because I thought my game wasn't going to end up saving. I don't know what caused it. It hasn't happened again since, luckily. But yeah, anytime anything strange happens in my game, I'm like spamming save frantically, terrified that I'm about to lose all of my progress, because sometimes if I do something once, it's just not gonna ever happen again. And then if that would happen, I would just have to abandon the build and just go from there. But I feel like maybe I'd saved at some point throughout it. I don't think it would have been that big of a deal. I don't know the last time I saved. Sometimes I forget when I'm just like kind of spaced out and I'm building for a while. And yeah, this is where it's going to end up happening. I was like adding in my terrain paint, and then that alert pops up. And then it like kind of stays. And I'm like, what is going on? And then another one pops up. And I'm like, oh no, is my game like breaking? And then like I frantically saved, but it got cut out. But everything was okay. Nothing happened. And now I'm doing the interior, but if you could kind of see, I feel like some of the exterior doesn't have the ivy and stuff on it. It's because I had start at the interior, and then I went back to add more details on the exterior, but I kind of just moved them around. That's like what I will usually do now in my videos, so it kind of like flows a little bit better and it doesn't go from the exterior to the interior back to the exterior. So some of it just looks a little bit different, but nothing got deleted. This is just a different timeline, and this is the floor plan I decided on. I managed to fit the 3 bedrooms in, and a bathroom upstairs. And down here I had a lot of space and I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with some of it. I wanted the kitchen in the back of the house where the like back door is, and then I have like an office space downstairs and a living room towards the back. I end up walling off that tower in the back because I couldn't get it to like the living room like layout to look good, which is sometimes a problem with oddly shaped rooms. It's like I always struggle figuring out how the living room is going to sit. But the living room does end up looking very cozy since I like walled off where the tower is downstairs, and I made it so that it's almost like a secret tower with one of those bookcase doors, and like going up the ladder it's just like a painting tower, which is like usually what I do with towers because there's not a lot of space. And it was like when I was doing the tower, like I remember maybe like a month ago, I was saying how I didn't like the new painting kit, but when I was doing that tower, I was like, you know what would have been perfect for this? The painting kit. And so I'm getting closer to wanting to buy that kit. And maybe I will around the time that like the new expansion pack comes out with like the life and death expansion pack, which is going to be really exciting. And I know that like every video I mention the expansion pack, but it's just like it looks so good and I'm just excited to build with it. On Halloween it comes out. But yeah, this is just me now changing some of the lighting. I was using the cottage living like wall sconces around, and I didn't know if it would look weird or like it was like too low to the door. Um but I kind of just accepted it and just moved on. And the bathroom, I'm using like a lot lighter colors. So there's like the yellow tile floor, which used to be my go-to tile floor, and I kind of made myself move away from it because I used to use that in every single build. Like this combination of flooring, like that tile and the cottage living wood floor is what I would use in every single build. It would be the kitchen and the bathrooms would have this tile. And it's been long enough, so I like used it again. And it's just, I love this tile so much. I really like it. And I feel like it looks really nicely with the yellow cabinets. The only thing is that I feel like this part of the house, it is a lot of like a lighter color palette than the rest of the house, which like always throws me off, but I feel like it was okay. I had picked out this wallpaper because I was originally going to make this a spellcaster's house, and then I never did anything with that. You could fit a cauldron in the backyard. I'm now realizing that I didn't decorate the porch or like the back patio area, which I had purposely made a really big deck in the back. Because I was like, oh yeah, this is overlooking such a nice view. And now I'm realizing that I forgot. And usually if I forget, I could go back and I can add stuff to it, but I already uploaded this to the gallery, so I like wouldn't forget. Um because like if I wait until I upload the video, I usually forget and then someone reminds me that I have to upload it. So this time when I did like the changes of the exterior, I was like, I'm uploading this right now so I don't have to open the Sims back up again and it'll all be okay. And now, like this foyer area, I was using this red floral wallpaper because I was trying to match the like vibe of the exterior. And then that kind of carries throughout the rest of the house with like a similar color palette, I think, and like um reddish or like purplish rugs. I think I use a lot of. So the bathroom is kind of its own little thing that I did first, and then I could have maybe changed it around, but it's okay. The bathroom could be a lot lighter, so it's not as like claustrophobic when you're in there. And then the dining room, I was wanting to use that same floral wallpaper, and I told myself no, and I used this green one instead. And I think I sized down that fireplace, but it felt like it looked so nice right there. And I don't put too much clutter in the dining room. This is when I was realizing that um although the exterior came along pretty naturally and quickly, I wasn't really looking forward to spending a lot of time on an interior. And I also like knew myself that I wouldn't want to spend a lot of time editing this week because Dead by Daylight has like their Halloween event that I would want to be playing. And so I was like, okay, I don't need a whole bunch of clutter. And people download houses and maybe they want to add their own personality into it through clutter instead of me just throwing the same objects I use all the time on every single surface of the house. And so I was like thinking of that when I was decorating. And like I was like, maybe people just want to use it for pictures because on Twitter I had seen someone, they just like downloaded my house from the gallery and they took like these really beautiful fall photos of their sim and like a really cute outfit just on the porch of the house with like the pumpkins in the background. And I was like, that's so cute. And it's like always like it's so touching to see because I'm like, I'm just building something and then like someone likes it enough to want to take pictures of their Sims and use my build as a background. And it makes me feel very happy when I see it. It's like always like a pleasant surprise. Because in my head, I'm like, no one downloads my builds, no one's using them for anything. And then I'll like see that. I'm like, oh, okay. People do download my builds. So that's like nice to see. But this is just the kitchen. Always change the lighting to be like slightly yellow. Um, that's just what I usually do. And just some dark cabinets and like there's not really a lot in the kitchen, which is okay. My favorite part of the kitchen ends up being that I just put these two console tables together to form like an island. And I was trying to use that like the smaller dishwasher that came with that like kitchen stuff pack because I really haven't used a lot of the items from it. Like for some reason, because it took me so long to buy that stuff pack, in my head, I'm like, people don't have that pack that much. And it's like, no, Megan, you just didn't like buy it. I'm sure a lot of people have that pack. And so I always kind of like try to avoid using that pack for some odd reason. And I think about that every time because I love the sink from it. I feel like I've gotten tired of all of the sinks in the game, but I really love the sink. It's like literally in this kitchen right now. Um, and that's the one that I always wanna use, and sometimes I don't use it 'cause, like, my brain tells me that I'm not allowed to use it for some reason. Like, I don't but then I'll use, like, one item from a random pack. Like, I used the coffee machine from the Cozy Bistro kit. It's like but I'm, like, all caught up on not using a dishwasher. I don't know how my brain works sometimes or the thought process that goes into these things. It's just I don't know. But the kitchen's pretty much done. Like I said, I didn't put a lot of clutter into it. I tried to decorate it a little bit, so there are some items around. I did play test it, just to make sure that your sim could use the oven because that like console table's a little bit close and it was okay. And this time I put a fire alarm in the house and I put one of those sprinkler systems in too. And like I never do that. And I always say I'm like, my bills are just guaranteed to have fires and I'm never gonna do anything about it. This time I did do something about it. I don't know why. It was something again, I don't know why, but I had looked and I was like, I'm putting a fire alarm in this specific build. I haven't put one in like any of my other builds pretty much, but this one gets the fire alarm. And this is the office space towards the front. I feel like it's nice and cozy. I like just like having the little bits of like almost like autumn accent colors inside, just oranges, yellows. That's kind of like what's going on in most of the builds. And so this is the living room where I was kind of struggling with figuring out the layout of it because I was like, where am I going to put the TV? And I didn't want like too much stuff in the way of the entryway of it because I was like, I feel like that's gonna make it feel really like claustrophobic and like if there's like too much stuff as soon as you walk in. But I was like, okay, the couch has to go here and then I liked the rocking chair area, but then I was like, "What am I gonna put behind this chair?" And I'm like, "Nothing is gonna really work, but I really like the rocking chair here, and I like the stool next to it." And I just change it to close it off a little bit, and, like, yeah, I, like, look up at the tower, I'm like, "Yeah, I can just make the whole tower only accessible through down here." I didn't actually check to see if your sim could get through there, so that might not be functional. Um, if it isn't, you just might have to move like the stool or something. But it's just like a secret painting tower. There's some painting supplies all the way up top. I don't know what else you would want to do with the tower. I have no ideas, but it doesn't have to be a place for painting. It could be anything else that you would want, I guess. And I had another window because I thought that it just like I think it was because I didn't want to have to put wall art over there, and I thought that that wall was like too blank with like all the floral wallpaper that I was like, I need to put something here, and a window is going in, and it looks great on the exterior, so it all ends up working completely fine. I also just remembered that because this video is going up Monday, that technically next week is Halloween, right? I'm opening up my calendar app. Yeah. Okay. So next week is Halloween. And I was thinking about trying to do 2 speed builds next week. So it's like I have Monday's video, which is going to be a witchy collab that I'm in with some like simmers on Instagram. And then I'm thinking maybe Thursday having a special Halloween speed build. If I just like figure out what that would be, I would really like to try and do that. Maybe I can manifest somehow within this time frame getting accepted into the EA Creator Network and getting early access to the expansion pack, and that could be something I do, but like I don't think that's gonna happen, but you never know. I applied back in the summer and I was rejected and I got this email telling me to reapply in October, and so I reapplied. Um, when was that? A week ago, over a week ago. I don't know when they pick new people to go in, but I would love that. But either way, I'm gonna end up buying the expansion pack, um, which comes out on Halloween. So maybe, um, no, I was gonna say like November 4th could be when I would do a build with the new pack, but that feels like not a lot of time. And like my building process has been a little bit slower because I haven't been as inspired and I haven't been as like motivated to build because I've been playing other games, but who knows. But yeah, this is the bedroom now. I picked out this like bed with the yellow because I was looking at the bathroom and I felt like it just looked nice. I love this bed and I love it in that swatch. And every time I have like a nook in the bedroom, I have to put the bed out a little bit or your Sims can't get into the bed. I've learned this the hard way, especially if you have like the two side tables next to it. So I usually put a dresser behind and clutter. And this time I use like floor to ceiling cabinets to fill in the space. And I like it's probably not like practical to have to climb onto the bed to get to the cabinets, and some of the bed probably blocks some of the cabinets, but we could just pretend. And this dresser um looks a little bit different on the gallery because this is the spot that for some reason all of the clutter got deleted. It was only this, and I guess this is the only area I had placed the clutter down like that where it's kind of floating. But I don't know how many of my builds that problem is happening because I haven't really paid much attention, and I like usually don't click on the family storage like area, but, like, I had seen the notification, so I clicked on it, I was like, "Oh, no." I'm like, "I need to put all of this back," and it didn't take that long, but, like, the variations of the clutter is different, and, it might be deleted when you download it. I hope it's not. Um, I think most people know to use move objects before you download a build from the gallery. I don't know if that was the issue, because I did have like better build by removed and then add it back in, which is usually what turns on move objects for me. So that could have been what caused it for me. And the rest of the house are like kids' bedrooms. So this is like a nursery area. So there's a crib for an infant, and I think I have a toddler bed in here. I just love that kit a lot, except I did realize that the changing table doesn't have a green swatch, and I was like, "What?" I felt devastated for a brief moment, and then I was like, "You know what? It's okay. I don't need the green swatch. The other swatches work with it anyway." Um, and it was okay. And I'm not sure if this like canopy makes the beds not functional. I couldn't play test this because I didn't have like a toddler in the household, but I did the same thing with the kids' bedroom too, where I lower this down a little bit to make it like fit more in with the size of the beds. So I don't know if that makes it not functional. You might need to delete it if that's the case. Because like I feel like the toddler could probably get into the bed, but you know how like this adult Sims will sit on the toddler bed to like read them a bedtime story? I'm not completely sure if that'll work. And I still uploaded it anyway without playtesting because it's not like that important of a thing. Like if it's deleted, it doesn't really matter. I do think it looks pretty cute, but it's not a necessity. And I had fun with the way I was cluttering this. Like, again, I didn't put a lot of clutter into the build, but I felt like it felt lived in enough, this room, with just like some toys in the corner. The green calendar that matches like the green in the rest of the room. It just like came together nicely. The perfect amount of decoration, I think. I was gonna add a garbage can in here for like the changing table, but I didn't know where to put it, and I was like, no, I feel like that's gonna throw off how it looks. So you might need to add that in, or your Sims will like constantly be going downstairs, or maybe just goes in their inventory. I'm not really sure, but yeah, I did the same thing in here with this like light up canopy. I lowered it down using tool mod, and this bedroom, I put 2 beds in here. So technically this house could be for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, 6 Sims. Um, if you have like a toddler, an infant, 2 kids, and then when the toddler grows up, you could have that bedroom converted to fit 2 other beds in here. I think that I like any more than 6 Sims, it would feel a little bit overcrowded unless you put like bunk beds in. But I feel like a family with 4 kids, this is like a perfect size house for that. And I guess I deleted that window over there because I didn't like how the blinds looked like poking in through the like light up canopy area. So I changed it. And I only put one side table in here because I liked having the bear on one side. I felt like the balance looked nice for it. And then the last of the build is just this tower where I put an easel. Is it on this part of it? And this is where I was like, I really wish that I had gotten that kit because I'm going through looking for all this painting clutter when if I had the kit, I could just sort by the painting kit, which is like, I guess is what's is selling me on it is that it's so hard to find the like painting sculptures in this game because they're like buried in everything. But yeah, that's the whole build, and these are just the screenshots of it now, of each different room. I feel like the decorations, it's enough. It could use a little bit more wall art on it, but if you play with walls like half down, it shouldn't be that much of a problem. Or it's just space for family photos of your Sims. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week with a collab build for I guess like some spellcasters. So yeah, thank you. Bye.